Well, welcome here to the Entrepreneur Workshop, where today we're going to have a special guest, Ryan Garde from Guardian Skincare. Today's topic is talking about taking your idea to market. As an entrepreneur, you've got these ideas that circle around in your head, and many people don't act on them. You've probably been to a party where somebody said, "Hey, I got this idea for a business," and so very few people actually follow through because it's a difficult process. There's a lot of mindset involved, and then there's also just the practical things of how do you develop this product, how do you find manufacturers, how do you get distribution, and take it to market. So Ryan's been working on Guardian Skincare, friend of mine, and also one of the faculty members at the Thinker Growth Community, which is a community for entrepreneurs, which offers weekly mentoring, also sprints that you can join to accelerate your idea, and then business accelerator as well. So, without further ado, Ryan, welcome to our live stream today.
Thanks, Jason. I'm super happy to be here. Appreciate it.
Well, we've known each other for a handful of years, and I'm so excited to be with you today because you actually offer on the workshop, our Tuesday workshop in the Thinker Growth Community, a lot of insights. And so it reminds me of the saying, like eat your own dog food. You're not only mentoring entrepreneurs, but you are also an entrepreneur yourself, and you're bringing a new product to market. So I think you have some insights that perhaps other folks don't have, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you today.
Perhaps, yeah. Thank you. It's been an amazing experience so far working with the team over at the Thinker Growth Community, and really just being able to contribute and learn from everybody that's been a part of our events. So I feel really great. And with regards to Guardian Skincare, it's been such an experience so far, and I can't wait to take it to to over the horizon, to the next level, I guess you would put it.
Yeah. So I'd like to begin with maybe unpacking where you're at with this journey, and then we're gonna rewind the clock and talk about where you began and catch everybody up to speed. So what this slice in time, what how would you characterize that?
Well, I would say that I'm kind of in the development sampling phase of my product. I've been working with some manufacturers, and really just kind of hand tailoring like what this product should look like in my head and how it should feel. I've had a couple of samples sent to me so far, and have been trying out those samples and on my own face and seeing how they work. And so far, so good. I think I've come up with a product that we're really close to releasing into the market. So I'm really excited.
And this skincare product that you've got, I know that you're targeting as we've discussed, and I think you're going to unpack it for us in a little bit. But who's the target market for this particular product?
Well, you know what? The story of it is a thing, but just to kind of talk a little bit about the demographic, I'm really shooting for men between the ages of, say, I would say 30 to probably well into their 60s and so forth. In my experience, and yeah, in my experience of talking to a number of men that I've come across in my life, friends and so forth, I found out real quick that skincare is something that men don't really think about. And yeah, going into that journey, I think I've been, well, throughout my life, I've always been into wellness and fitness and so forth and stuff. And I would say, fortunately for me, I've been in close contact with a number of people who taught me about my skin and skincare, even at times where I really didn't want to hear it. And so it all kind of stuck with me, and I kind of built up a routine for myself, and really tried to do the right things with regards to my skin. And I guess throughout the years, it kind of, kind of shown. So I've had people ask me about it. I know you, Jason, and I had a conversation about it a couple times as well. But I think there was one story where a friend of mine came to me and, was like, "Oh, you look so young. You look great, blah, blah, blah. How do you do it?" And then I just kind of went through what my routine was with them, and they tried it for themselves. And it turned out really well for them. They saw some really positive results. I think they built a habit around it and so forth. And it really just kind of inspired me to think more about it. And I think about a year later, I was sitting around with my friends. I think it was like around COVID or something. And I was like, I want to do something different. Like I've been, in corporate life for throughout my life. I've been, in tech sales and all that stuff here in San Francisco, most of my life and have done really well. But I think that entrepreneurial bug bit me back in COVID. And um, you know, one day I was just like, I want to do something different. And I was like, well, what can I do? And to be honest, like a lot of different ideas came. I was researching like dog accessories because I love dogs and all that stuff as well. And then one day, I think a friend of mine was all like, asked me about my skin, and I was like, you know what? I should maybe I should try to do something about this, and like maybe I can like create something. I didn't even know you could do something like that. I thought like huge companies needed labs and what have you. But I was able to like kind of learn a little bit, do some research, found a couple manufacturers to consult with, found one that I liked, and here we are.
So this has been going on for how many years?
Oh man. I would say I had the idea at the beginning of 2022. So it's been about a year and a half where I've been kind of toiling around with this idea. And I would say in the last 6 months is where I've really gained traction with regards to development, research, fostering feedback. I've created a couple of um, surveys that I was putting out like throughout the internet and having my friends fill out, which were really enlightening and also really affirming with regards to what I wanted to do. So yeah, I've been doing it for about a year and a half, I think.
It seems a typical entrepreneurial journey that some of these ideas take time to uh, take time to condense. They're just these ideas in the atmosphere, and then over time, the ideas begin connecting more and more, and then all of a sudden, some precipitating event happens when you're just like, now's the time. I gotta go do this. Have there been precipitating events along the way that you can point to that gave you that nudge forward?
I really feel like a lot of there are two things that really contributed to pushing this forward. And the big one for me was mindset. Really, I feel like COVID was a time for me to really kind of like step back out of whatever reality we were all beforehand and really think about what I wanted out of life. So, I mean, not for nothing, I was doing a lot of meditations and I learned how to practice manifestation and things like that. All this stuff that a lot of people would think is kind of, you know, uh, kind of off, off the wall or what have you. But in reality, for me, it helped me kind of center my thinking. And then when I was able to focus on what I wanted, and like I said, the skincare thing, I wasn't even really thinking about at that point. Things really started to kind of cultivate, and I would say the people around me started changing, and the influences started changing around me. And the one precipitating event, I would say that kind of led me to making that decision, that switch for me, was I was playing around with my friends and we had started a small podcast or something and we were just talking about our lives and how it was to be like over 40 and in our case Filipino and everyone kept talking about how great our skin looked. And I was just like, what? And the two other um, participants in my podcast are women and they're gorgeous and they're over 40 yet they take care of themselves. They don't look their age and they're like, you guys look great. And they were getting comments like that. And I was just like, you know what? We started talking about skincare and I was like, I was I should do something like this. Why don't I design something for skincare? And then one of my friends who was an esthetician at the time was like, well, the women's market is saturated. And you know nothing about skincare. And I was like, I know something. And what about the men's market? The men's market, I would say, m- while it's probably really thick, I many of the men that I talk to and that I know, we never talk about our skin. What was enlightening was is that as I got to meet more men, who are out there, more average people who are like who thought about it or who were exposed to it one way or another, they either were looking for something for them or they were just in the general industry, just kind of floating around trying things out. So the idea came to design something specific to men that would show the same benefits that a lot of women are finding in their industry as well. And then on top of that, through social media and communication and things like that, really helping to educate more and more men to take care of their skin. Because at the end of the day, I feel like wellness is total wellness, not only your body, your fitness, and things like that, but the largest organ in anyone's body is their skin. So it's really important to take care of it.
So you're kind of chuckling when you're thinking back to this moment that people are looking at you and saying, "Hey, you have such great skin," which I think is not I'm not certain that's a compliment that a lot of guys get. Um, I feel like there are these moments for entrepreneurs where they begin to get this idea of pull through, where someone looks at them and like, "Hey, I want something." They're just it's just their potential customer base. That there's also that I want something from you, and it's the mindset of an entrepreneur to say maybe I could provide that. When people start asking me for something, how do I turn that then into a product? From that moment where people start talking to you and asking you, what are your, you've got great skin. You then tied it, as I heard, to, well, maybe I could do a skincare line targeted towards men. Uh, I also heard that you didn't. I mean, you're not from manufacturing. You're from software sales, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't even know about contract manufacturing and the distribution channels and such. How has that process been for you, where you're entering a new market that you don't have a lot of familiarity with, and now you're uncovering all the things that you need to know to run a successful business? How's that process been for you?
Whew, it's been a learning process, and a lot of the things that, well, I wanted it to be simple, and I thought, it may be easy. And then from there, I realized that, well, how do I work with a contract manufacturer or something like that? Like, what is that? So a lot of it was just kind of from learning from doing, I guess. I would go online and find out. I would do a search on like how to make a moisturizer or a cleanser or a serum and stuff like that. And always in my head, it was like, oh, you need a lab, you need white lab coats, you need beakers, you need stuff like that. And I don't have that stuff. I'm not going to do it in my living room. So I was just doing a lot of research and reading articles and watching videos and things like that. It was something for me to definitely kind of like take in, as it was a whole process. I think at the end of the day, when I really started surrounding myself with entrepreneurs and people with that are like-minded with regards to starting a business, and even those especially who have started businesses before, and learning from them and taking what I learned into practice, that's when things started to kind of come together a little bit more. And I think at the end of the day, I'm still learning. I mean, there's going to be parts of this process for me that I'm going to have no clue about. I'm already kind of resigned to the fact that I will be sending stuff like from this workbench behind me and things. But it's been a journey, and to be honest, I fell in love with it. I think I've caught the bug, as Wood would say.
What is it about that bug that is so intriguing to you? What fits?
There are a few things. First of all, this is all new stuff for me. Like learning something new, learning a new skill, learning how to solve problems. That's something that I'll take with me throughout, my whole entire life. Being resourceful, surrounding myself with people, um, again, that are like-minded, that I can learn from, rather than Just being in spaces where I feel like I'm the smartest person in the room, or I need to show myself the smartest person in the room. Being a student for me has been super important, and being open minded enough to learn stuff from people is something that I value. Um, but ultimately, and I think this is the thing for most entrepreneurs, is like the freedom and the having the mindset of creating freedom for myself with regards to my time, my skill set, my knowledge, and being able to use that to for my own means rather than paying someone, having someone pay me to contribute like that. I think it's really important. And then on top of it, having the freedom to move around. Um, I think COVID was great for maybe one thing. It really gave society the opportunity to kind of like work from anywhere, work from home, work from different cities, different countries, or whatever, and still be able to contribute to a company wherever it may be in the world. I think the one thing that kind of what it did to hold people back is kind of keep people at home. For those who work from home, you're kind of confined to your own walls, and yeah, at that point, it's your house, it's your you built it. But then what happens outside? And I think that's been a trend ongoing now since the pandemic. And for me, more now so than ever, I value my freedom. And I've traveled and I've seen things, I've been to places, and I want to continue to do that. And I felt like being an entrepreneur was going is going to help me achieve that. And I'm really looking forward to it. And so far this experience has been amazing.
I find a lot of people who become entrepreneurs do it for freedom or what they but I think the definition of freedom might need some clarification because it's also I think true that it's not the freedom of hey I get to do nothing. It's the freedom of I get to work around my energy cycles. If I want to work in the middle of the night, if I want to work in the early morning, if I want to work in the afternoon, if I want to take a bit of time and shift things around, no one's telling me to go in the office. And yet the other side of that is no one's telling me to go in the office. And so it requires a certain level of discipline that maybe folks who are not suited to the entrepreneur journey, one of the reasons they aren't suited for it is they don't have the discipline. How has that process been for you when you're thinking of freedom?
It's a really good question. I feel like for me, it's definitely been a learning experience because one of my jobs was very rigid when it came to like your time and your schedule. I used to be a flight attendant for a major airline, and their motto was if you're not early, you're late.
Hmm.
And I lived through that. And that was something that became a mantra for me as well. Like you have to be on time for this, for that, for these people, for this company and what have you. And when I started on this journey, there were times where I was like, well, what do I do right now at this moment? Like I can lay in bed and just watch TV, or I can jump on the computer or on my phone and doom scroll for a whole day or something, which I've done. Like, no, let's be honest. Or I can kind of learn something new. And what I realized is that that type of discipline comes with a certain ambition, right? Like I feel like if you for me specifically, if you would for discipline to happen or for me to become disciplined, I need to be working towards something, a goal of sorts. So I think it all kind of came together when I thought um when Guardian Skincare kind of like was born in my head. I realized to myself, I was like, I gotta set aside time for this amongst other things in my life. I have to value my time more, which means less time doom scrolling, watching TV, couch potatoing, or what have you, and really just try to work towards a goal. And so, not for nothing, like, there was a point where I just remember like laying in bed for half a day, doom scrolling on my phone, like, just doing nothing. And then now it's like, well, okay, if I'm not doing nothing, I need to be doing something. Let's schedule some time out, I'm going to take this time to work on this time to work on myself, and this time to do this for, for other people or what have you. So I feel like it's been a learning experience, but one again that I'll take with me throughout my life, I think.
Yeah, that reminds me of years ago when the game Farmville came out on Facebook. Uh, and I was building a farm, a virtual farm, and it was like click, 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 plant, 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 and all of a sudden be like, it's time to harvest, 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 harvest. And I realized at one point in time the amount of the number of hours I had spent virtually planting and harvesting a a a digital farm that could be turned off on me at any point in time. I could have already had a garden and would have already grown plants and eaten them. And it was in that moment. It was that was one like my defining moment where I shut off Farmville, deleted it, and I've never gone back.
I got so many video game stories about how I've played games for hours and days even. You know, it's natural. I mean, it's society these days. And yeah, there has been those wake up moments where I'm like, what have I been doing for the past 10 to 15 hours? Like people could be paying me for stuff at this point. So yeah, at that point I was just like, you know what? I really got to do something more productive. Um, I can, what is that going to be? So that was like the thought process at that moment. And then again, like as time went on and as I started to learn things and be around people, that's when Guardian Skincare came about. And I was like, now I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
Well, I want to catch people up to speed. If you're just joining us, I'm chatting with Ryan Garde from Guardian Skincare. We're talking about going from idea to market. And he's an entrepreneur in the middle of bringing a skincare line for men to the marketplace. And I do want to throw this link up here. If you are interested in taking a survey, Ryan could use your assistance. There is an Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok link up on the screen. You can also become a beta tester by contacting Ryan. Now, back to this idea of freedom, and I want to tie that to prioritization because this is not your gig. I mean, you have a day job, and then you're adding on this future of being an entrepreneur. How do you prioritize the things that you need to get done?
Wow. Well, I think at the end of the day, it's really all about like what my goals are and what people's goals are for me. And so when it comes to my day job, I mean, it's regular 9 to 5, and I'm fortunate enough to work with a company that lets me work from home, so that's good. And I think, well, with the skincare project that I'm working on right now with Guardian Skincare, I've really learned to take the time that I have away from this job, from this position, and really just kind of scheduling around it. So what I'll do is let's say after work, I'll jump online and I'll do a couple things, maybe some housekeeping things, maybe keep up, talk with my manufacturers, and and then beyond that, schedule time with other mentors and group events throughout my week. So as I mentioned before, rather than doom scrolling on my phone in bed for 5 hours, I would rather be talking with other entrepreneurs and learning something new with regards to my business. So that's kind of again comes with mindset and just being able to kind of flip that around. And again, that wasn't easy. Like, you know, creatures of habit. For years, I've probably done the same thing over and over with regards to being less productive. I would say this is something new for me, but I love it. I feel like it's something that I should have been doing for years now.
That's interesting because when folks kind of find the thing that like I talked about this fit, when it fits, you just kind of know it. But before you really get involved in being an entrepreneur, there's this kind of still voice, this small voice going, man, this is what you got to do. And that seems to get amplified then as you look for maybe confirmation that this is the right thing. But that it does take kind of jumping ahead and actually doing it to be able to really let it settle that even though it's difficult, this is the life that I want to live. Talk to me about some of the challenges that you've
Hmm.
experienced along the way in your journey.
Well, to kind of address what you just mentioned with regards to challenges, I feel like something that I've learned that I follow to this day is to life is like a roadmap. It's like you're going from one place to another, and sometimes you can't decipher the forest through the tree. You can't see the forest through the trees. I guess is what they call it, and you can't. It's hard to find a path. And I tend to be somebody who would overthink a bunch of things every now and again. One thing that I learned was if you're feeling lost, is to always kind of look into the horizon and find that point that you're heading towards and just keep going in that direction. One of the challenges I've been wrestling with is is really just putting myself out there. I think at the end of the day, I didn't realize. Well, I think I kind of realized, but I didn't realize it at this point that it's not the business really that you're selling. Sure, it's a concept and you know um, solving problems, but really at the end of the day, it's all about selling yourself and getting people to kind of follow along with your journey, kind of selling them on what your dream is, not only for yourself, but also for the people that you're looking to solve this problem for. I can't tell you how many times I've like looked at TikTok or Instagram and I was like, I should post something. What should I post? There was one point where I was so stuck that I was like, well, maybe I just need a new equipment. I bought this equipment. I bought like a microphone and ring light and some other stuff. And for days, it's just been it was sitting there. And I was just like, I don't think it's the equipment. I think it's me. So I feel like for me, it's really been more about like putting myself out there, really getting people to follow me. You look at these people on TikTok or on Instagram and social media with all these followers, and they make it look so easy. I'm here to tell you that, like, at least in my head, it hasn't been easy. It's weird. It's one of those things where I feel like I should do it naturally. I should be able to do it naturally, but it's been the most unnatural thing for me to be wrestling with. So that's been one of my challenges. I would also assume that, like any other entrepreneur, like resources and, having things available for you to be able to accomplish certain tasks are always a challenge. And I'm sure I'll be running to those later. But currently, right now, it's it's been just really telling my story through social media and so forth. But I will say that I have created a few videos and people have seen them. So,
Yeah, I've seen them too. And it was funny because we were talking the other day, um, and and I'm fortunate enough to walk this journey with you. We were talking the other day about how this roadblock, this challenge that people set up in their minds about how I know I gotta get out there, but then what? It's like, and that's as far as it goes. I should get out there. I should talk to people, and that's when all the questions start rising. And it's kind of like if you're going to go out surfing, right? You got to get past the waves that are coming into shore, but that's the
oh
only
yeah,
way to get out there. How are you going to get out there? And so the that mindset of putting yourself out there and then experiencing such friction as you move forward is so common. And I wonder where that comes from for entrepreneurs. What are your thoughts on that?
I think as humans, people are just averse to taking risks for a number of reasons. Like, people don't want to get burned or they've been burned and they don't want to experience that again. And there's always that fear of not to say the void, but of not knowing. I'm not knowing how someone's going to react. I'm not knowing what the result will be. For me, it's always been the fear of failing, which is something that happens all the time. I'm in sales. I'm getting rejected every day. Like, someone's always going to tell me no. And that's completely fine. And really, at the end of the day, you have to persevere through that. And I think as I wrestle with my fear of failure or my fear of being judged,
Hmm.
um, I'm hoping, well, I'm sure, like, I think I just got to do a few more of these, kind of get used to it, tweak it as I go, walk before I run, I guess you may call it. Um, I think it'll get better. But it's definitely something that, like, when I first started on this journey, I was like, well, yeah, maybe I could just sidestep the whole social media thing anyway. Nope, you can't. You have, it's going to be a part of your business. So, um, yeah, it's been one of those things where, like, you know what, fear of judgment, fear of failure is something that, like, everybody probably goes through. And I've been going through it lately with regards to, like, standing right in front of a camera and really just kind of telling my story and continuing to do that. But I think the best way I can kind of relate it to is like fitness in the gym. A quick story for you. I live part time in South America. I have a girlfriend down there and stuff, and she's really into fitness. And we spend half the year away from each other typically. And when I went back this year, she was like, "We need to get you in the gym, like right now." And I was like, "What?" And when my first day in the gym, I was sore, I was scared, people were looking, the gym was packed, so there were people everywhere. I was working with a trainer and he was just telling me what to do. And it was just the most, for me, the most unnatural thing. I come from a rock climber background, so that's kind of how I worked out before. Now I'm in like a regular gym, lifting regular weights and stuff like that. So it's all new. But over time, I got more and more used to it. Over time, the I started to level up with regards to, like, the resistance and trying new things. I remember getting on a stairmaster because my trainer told me to, and I just looked at him like, "Are you serious?" And he was like, "15 minutes. What's the problem?" And I was just like, "What?" But over time, I started getting used to it, and I feel like if I can get used to that type of situation where I'm super uncomfortable, don't know what to do, never really done this before as in regards to training with a trainer, then if I could just be a little bit more consistent, maybe I'll be able to, and likely I'll be able to continue doing this and it'll get better. And hopefully, with any luck, I can turn out like, with, better produced content or content that would connect with more people.
I always tell people the first time's the worst time. So you
That
just
makes
got to get
sense.
it over with. And similarly to you, there was a time in probably it's like 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. I remember thinking that I was tired of certain fears in my life because I felt like the fear was running the show. And somehow I am the servant of the fear instead of fear being a servant of me. And so I was afraid of heights. And I thought to myself, I reasoned, if there are two people standing on the edge of a cliff, one person's afraid and one person isn't, what's the difference? Two people, same circumstance, different beliefs. And I reasoned that the person who is not afraid must know something that the person who is afraid doesn't know yet. And so I'm that person. I need to learn something. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? Because I wanted to be more adventurous in my life, and there was this fear of heights. And so I learned to rock climb. And as soon as I made this decision in my life to go off and rock climb, I noticed for the first time after going to the YMCA for several years, I noticed, oh, the YMCA has a rock wall. And so I signed up and I started climbing and ended up with some very good friends and then ended up traveling and doing rock climbing. And that fear of heights was changed for me because now it became a I am unsafe or I am safe. If I am unsafe, I should be afraid. I should do something about this. If I am safe, there's no reason for the fear. I'm safe. And I took myself through this learning process to figure out how to become safe. And now I could know where that line was at and lead myself to safety. Too often I think our brains, certainly for entrepreneurs and like yourself, putting yourself out there in front of the people who are going to judge you. And I'm no different. I have these things too. Uh, we miss that we're already safe. Safety's we're safe. We're not in an unsafe position. So where's that fear coming from? Because we're not breaking it down into safety or lack of safety. It's just broad brushed, and then we make decisions out of the fear, which is really, I find, the gateway to the thing that we should be doing. It's guarding. Fear guards the gateway to our growth. And much like you, the very thing that you don't want to do, put yourself out there, talk about, your Guardian skincare online. That's the very thing you need to do. And it's no wonder. It's actually, like I think we talked about this the other day in the workshop. The Being an entrepreneur is one of the best methods for personal growth, because you are forced to confront yourself and all the things standing in between you and the life that you want to have.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, just earlier in this conversation, I've been talking about how I've learned so much through this experience. So just now, like at this point, uh, and all the different skill sets that I've learned, and just different things I've learned that will help maintain my business. And going back with with what you said when you first started rock climbing, it was the first day is always the worst, but you ended up with friends, amazing experiences. The fear that you had has evolved into something that's more manageable. I'm the same way. I'm afraid of heights myself. It's weird, but I've been climbing for years, and I found myself like the other day just at the edge of a cliff looking down when my friends tying us in. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, I remember like 10 years ago, I would be clinging to anything at this point, and here I am just kinda leaning over this cliff like, "Oh, yeah, that's pretty far down. We've done this before, didn't we?" And my friend was like, "Yeah, we totally did this before." And I was like, "Ah." But I think growth and being an entrepreneur has led me to growing in ways that, in my opinion, probably I would never have happened unless I decided to go down this route, take this path. Um, And it's funny, I mentioned to friends of like different businesses that I wanted to start. Like I mentioned that I live half time in South America. I was talking to some friends. I was like, "Hey, I should start a moving business down here or something like that." And just all these different ideas coming around. And I think that's all only been happening simply because I decided to go down this path and learn how to do all this. And I'll be honest, I want Guardian Skincare to be successful. I want to help a ton of people, um, men in this particular instance, to really take care of themselves. And I really feel like with the product that we're putting out there and the story that I want to tell, that I will tell, I feel like I can do that. So I think while being an entrepreneur and the motivation that we've been uncovering so far, the freedom, I'm sure people could talk about the money that they can earn and the lifestyle that they'll lead and things like that is great. I think for me, it's really just been about helping people. And as I mentioned, I've met so many, you know, people through my life, most obviously men in this case, that have indicated to me that, like, man, I've never even really thought about this. I literally slather Lubriderm on my face every day, or maybe I won't. I don't know. And they're like, man, and the one story that really stuck out to me was with my friend who tried what I suggested for them to do, and they saw positive results. When I saw that, when that friend came to me, it really inspired me to think outside the box, to think about stuff that was happening around me, and kind of figure out how I can contribute and how I can help solve problems. And again, with the whole job thing, the having like any other entrepreneur who's just starting out, you need to have some income. It led me to realize that, like, while I can be doing this for other people, which I'm fine with and which many people can be fine with, I could totally be doing this for myself. And no one is really going to approach this the way I'm approaching it now. So why not?
Yeah. The the people that we align ourselves with, I think, is so important. You've spent much of this time talking about how you have learned from others, how you want to help others, how you have listened to feedback from others, how you have grown by walking the road with others. I'm I I'm wondering, and it's always been my encouragement that, and you've sort of confirmed it, but the when you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to start hanging around entrepreneurs. It's like if I wanted to play basketball, I would have to start hanging around people who play basketball. I don't know anybody who plays real basketball. And so of course I'm not a good basketball player. I never practice. I don't know anybody who does. And if I want to be a golfer, I got to start hanging around people who golf. I might have to get somebody who to coach me because they're going to see things that I cannot see because I'm standing in my own body and they're standing outside of it. And I think for you, I mean, I've had this opportunity to work with you as you're bringing this product to market, and then you're also a faculty member at the workshop and in the Thinker Growth community. What comes to your mind? What do you think of when you're thinking about who people should be working with or how they choose to curate the people who are part of their journey or their entrepreneurial journey?
I think at the end of the day, if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, if there's something that you want to do that you feel like can help others or can improve your life, even, the first thing you need to change is your mindset. When you do that, things, opportunities will start to reveal themselves. And in my case, and I'm sure many other entrepreneurs' cases, they come in the form of other people. Likely you'll be exposed to somebody who's doing something similar to what you're doing or has done something similar to what you're doing. I think it would be important for you to try to kind of pick their brain, meet them, learn more about them. Likely what will happen is that person will be a part of something a little bit bigger than them, in which you can find yourself um, becoming part of as well. Whether in our case it's the thinker growth community, in some other cases it could be somebody out there who, to your point, wants to play basketball, right? Wants to learn how to play basketball. What are they going to do? They're going to seek out other basketball players to play with them. Somebody wants to rock climb. They're going to go to a gym. They're going to meet other rock climbers, or they're going to go outdoors and meet other rock climbers. So those opportunities start to reveal themselves, and it's really up to that person who's looking to make these changes to decide whether or not they want to take advantage of these opportunities and I guess put themselves out there. Really, just meet these new people and ask them questions. My experience, I've been blessed. I, like how we met randomly. I was working for another business, and you were an expert that we brought into that business and did some presentations with and so forth. And down the line, we reconnected and now had these conversations, and here we are. So those were choices that I made to connect with you, the rest of the team over at Thinker Growth, and so forth. And it's been again an amazing experience, positive, amazing ride, and I'm sure it's going to continue to be that way. So my advice to anyone who's looking to get into this type of lifestyle, to do these things that are super hard to do by yourself, especially in a silo, get your mindset, like really believe in what you want to do, and the opportunities will arise for you to to continue to move forward. And likely they'll be in the form of people who you probably have never met before.
Yeah, well said. Well, we're coming up on the end of our time here today with Ryan Garde from Guardian Skincare. I want to encourage everybody. Uh, you mentioned that you're at this point where you've got some sample products that you've been testing out. You have some survey options out there. How can people get how and why would they want to take the survey?
Oh man, that's a really good question. In the survey in itself, I just asked general questions with regards to skincare and like how what your behaviors are, what you would like to see. Really, if you want to get involved, you can always just follow me on social media, on Instagram. They're on the screen. Guardian Skincare, Twitter, Guardian Skin, TikTok, Guardian.skin.care. Just follow my journey. Leave some feedback. Talk to me. Uh, help me feel like I'm not alone out there trying to trying to change the world. Yeah, just engage. I think at the end of the day, I love hearing from others. I'm easy to talk to, or I try to be, and I love hearing feedback. I think at the end of the day, what you'll be doing um, and engaging with me and participating in my journey is helping me shape this brand to the best it can be. So, I'd appreciate it.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm so excited that you're part of the community, that you're one of our faculty members, and also that you've decided in your entrepreneurial journey to go ahead and move forward. I love your energy, and I know that you're dealing with the being alone on camera on social media, and I hate it too. I got to tell you, I don't. There's nothing I'm never just like I should. I really love doing this TikTok thing, but it's
You look great, though. I'll tell you that. You look
well.
great when you do it.
Well, thanks. But like we've talked about before, if you got a product, a service, or a message that you think is going to change the world, you actually owe it to the world to get good at communicating that, because otherwise they'll never know. So this is the Entrepreneur Workshop, talking about going from idea to market with Ryan Garde from Guardian Skincare. I'm going to put the links up here one last time. If you want to connect with him, take the skincare survey. He could totally use your help, and then become a beta tester when he's got products ready to try. You've got the Insta, Twitter, and TikTok up on the screen. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you here next time.